Baccus 6mm presents Teeny, Tiny, Terrain.
Hi there, my name's Peter and I run Baccus 6mm. I'd like to take a few minutes of your time today to showcase a new range of models that we're doing, something a little bit different, but I hope you'll find it interesting. I'm going to talk about scenic items. Now, I use 6mm figures, like I suspect a lot of you who are watching this video will do. There we go. And to go along with these 6mm figures, we produce a range of scenics. The most popular item in those ranges are buildings. And like wargamers the world over, what we try and do is get buildings which look right against our figures on the tabletop. And that's the way we've been doing it for a long time, right, going back to the days of H.G. Wells and beyond. However, it's become quite obvious to a lot of people, and ourselves obviously, that this creates a few problems. If you're not quite sure what I mean, have a look at this.
It's a fairly normal situation on many a miniature battlefield of a small town, a couple of buildings, flanked on one side by a wood. A nice objective. So what we'll do is we'll set a battalion of infantry to advance on the town, take it and occupy it. Easy. However, what we're actually representing here is very different. A full strength, 600 strong infantry battalion is a very big and unwieldy beast. And the small village of 2 buildings, well, that becomes much bigger. And here is where we started with this process. It's a game that we produced a few years ago, based around the Battle of Gettysburg, but condensed onto a 4-foot square table, with the game actually being played in 45 minutes. We quickly realised that if we had used large-scale conventional 6mm buildings, they would have dominated the battlefield and, to be honest, given us very little room to manoeuvre or put the troops on. So we downscaled to very small buildings that you see here. This gave us the room on the battlefield to put the troops on, but actually gave a wonderful impression of the size and scope of the action. And this gave us lots and lots of things to think about. And you can see the solution here. So let's return to our little village. 2 buildings, each on a 60 by 30mm base, measuring 60mm square when you put them together. This is the replacement. It's a complete built-up area. See a little monument in there, church to one side, and lots of little houses. A much truer representation of what those buildings are supposed to be. As you can see, they've got the same tabletop footprint. Now let me show you what I mean a little more exactly with this enclosure, which marks a boundary of the built-up area. It fits both the 6mm scale buildings beautifully. But here you've got something which actually looks like a small town. The middle bit comes out easily, and you can put in troops to occupy it. And when they decide to leave, you can restore the buildings. Simple, but very effective on the tabletop. But not all buildings and towns like that were open. Some cities and towns were much more strategically important. And that's when you get the development of these little things. The polygonal trace, usually attributed to the French Marshal Vauban during the War of the Spanish Succession, but predating him. As you can see, it houses that built-up area very snugly and gives a lot more protection. And just as with the other one, you can give your French soldiers a very safe billet now. Let's shift back a few centuries, right back to the ancient Near East, with a hill fort or a hill settlement consisting of tiers of mud brick buildings. It's a piece that can be used in quite a few settings over a wide range of years. And as with the other models, the centre can be removed so that you can arrange for troops to occupy the town. They just fit in the centre like this. And they can keep all the nasty people at bay for a while until they decide to just move out. And the town can go back to being its normal, peaceful self. And moving a few hundred miles to the west, we have here a Celtic hill fort. You see the centre section shows the settled area at the top of the fort with the big chief's hut. And as with the others, it can be occupied by some brave defenders. And when they leave, all goes back to peaceful. But for those of you who find that isn't quite impressive enough to be a proper Celtic hill fort, we offer the chance for an extension. And you begin to see how impressive these constructions really were. But for those of you who want to go full Maiden Castle, we've got the third tier. And there you see the magnificence of these things. And where would any Celts be without some Romans annoying them? And we'll start off here with a nice little Roman auxilia fort. A rectangular basis with rounded edges, a classic Roman style. And as usual, the buildings in the centre come out. And we can put the Romans inside to occupy and defend it. But we've got plans to extend this range. So if we just move these out of the way, we can show you the next incarnation, which is a double-size Roman fort. And this would hold a couple of legionary cohorts, or possibly, in terms of wargaming, a legion. As with all the others, it can be occupied fully or partially with a combination of buildings and figures. Now those are full-scale permanent forts, but the Romans were famous for making little marching forts. This is what you can see at the top of the picture here. That will have tents when we finish it to put inside there. And for those of you who fancy something a little grander, here's a section of Roman limes, or frontier walls, complete with a little fort, which put me in mind of all those years ago unpacking a Roman airfix fort in OOHO scale. Now moving away from that, and again for future plans, we've got a fortified camp. Now this can do for any or some must keep pipe and shut period, but for our purposes it's giving those pesky Frenchmen yet another safe night, camped down somewhere. So there you have it. The Baccus tiny terrain models will really help to give a true idea of the actual scope and size of battlefield and the terrain pieces on which your miniature warriors give battle. By downsizing, they actually give a better perspective of what all those nice, neat little bases really represent. You can find our TTT range already on the Baccus site. Now, I do hope that these are of interest to you, but please let us know your thoughts and reactions on the comments below, or perhaps give us some suggestions for future releases, what we hope will become a large range of tabletop models